Oh, I'll catch up with you guys. I think I left my watch inside.
Hey, let's just wait a sec.
I cross the room to the intrinsic field center. I find my watch. When I get to the door, Wally is turning white.
The program's locked in. We can't override the time lock.
I am terrified.
Jon? I'm sorry, Jon. But I can't.
Hey, don't leave me! Don't leave me!
Watchmen depicts an alternate history in which costume vigilantes or superheroes emerged in the 1940s and 1960s, and their presence changed history so that the United States won the Vietnam War, and the Watergate scandal was never exposed. In 1985, the country is edging toward World War III with the Soviet Union. Freelance costume vigilantes have been outlawed, and most former superheroes are in retirement or working for the government. The only one of these superheroes to have powers is Dr. Manhattan. Jon Osterman was the son and apprentice to his watchmaker father. Through his experience, he learned to have good control over very small moving parts. Later, this would lead to assisting him to become Dr. Manhattan. Osterman was a nuclear physicist studying intrinsic fields, which were responsible for holding atoms together. He would work with Janie Slater together and fixed her watch for her. Upon realizing he left it in his lab coat in the intrinsic field test chamber, he rushed back to it. However, the door closed and automatically locked as a safety feature, leading him to have his intrinsic field removed. Over the following months, with his experience as a watchmaker, he was able to partly retake his material form over multiple attempts. Finally, on November the 22nd, 1959, he fully appeared as Dr. Manhattan. But how does the intrinsic field work, you might wonder? University of Minnesota physics professor James Kekelius did science consulting for the film and explained how it might work.
Jon Osterman gained superpowers when his intrinsic field was removed in a physics experiment gone awry out at Gila Flats. Well, there's no such thing as an intrinsic field, but if there were, if we could describe it as a wave, then we could have a situation such as Jon Osterman's wave being the yellow wave, and if we generate another wave externally, the purple wave, if they're completely in phase, we add the two and we get a bigger result. But if we turn the purple wave and reverse it so that it's now 180 degrees out of phase, you add the two and the result is zero. So this is a situation where you can generate a wave if it's 180 degrees out of phase with the existing wave. You can remove both waves. In the movie, presumably, the intrinsic field that holds all of Jon Osterman's atoms and nuclei together can be described by some sort of wave. Somehow that wave is analyzed and they generate a wave completely out of phase. You remove the forces holding his atoms and nuclei together, and he would disintegrate, be torn apart. The light is tearing him to pieces, as they say in the graphic novel.
So how much energy would have to be in this wave? We can find this by finding the binding energy of all the atoms in Jon Osterman. Nuclear binding energy is the minimum energy that is required to disassemble the nucleus of an atom into its constituent protons and neutrons. Before we can find the number of atoms in Jon Osterman, we start by finding his height. IMDb tells us his actor is 5'9". Assuming he has a healthy BMI, which he appears to, we can use an article from DocGo.com to find the number of atoms in his body. I used the Nuclear Data Center at Carey website to then find the first 13 atoms binding energy and then multiply them to the respective number of atoms in Jon's body. This is how many joules of energy it would take for him to be pulled apart at a nucleus level. Now, to put these numbers into perspective, you can input them into unitconverters.net and find the conversions. Using the numbers from that, we can find the megatons, gigajoules, gigawatt per hour, even calories, and so on. So, another way to view the amount of energy necessary is as over 20 billion Baymax, enough energy to replace the Hoover Dam's output for more than 3 years, or power all of the Dominican Republic for 1 year in 2008. If given this amount of energy to power a LED light bulb, we could have one running 24/7 for the next 148 million years. Alternatively, we could power 1.3 trillion LED bulbs for 1 hour, which for reference, the largest LED screen in the world is a Sphere in Las Vegas with 1.2 million LEDs. Every house in San Antonio could be powered for free for the next 2 years. If the energy was a bomb and dropped on the Alamo, it would kill 450,000 people and injure another 520,000. All the glass windows at bases would be shattered, and thermal radiation would give third-degree burns to everyone. But returning to the scene, would the energy released shown in the movie be accurate? Safely assuming that lightning is coming out of the intrinsic field test chamber, is that the right amount? Calculating that requires only dividing our given energy by the average amount of joules in a lightning bolt, which is 5 gigajoules. So with the required nearly 47 quadrillion joules of energy, it would take around 6.7 million lightning bolts to equate that. Therefore, I am confident in saying that the scene is not realistic. Regardless, exploring the possibility was fun, and in the words of Dr. Manhattan, I'd almost forgotten the excitement of not knowing, the delights of uncertainty.